And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. It's another free flow Saturday. I nearly said free falling Saturday.
It could as well be that. You never know when this discussion goes, it could go south
Hmm,
very fast.
hmm,
And you have no control of what you're gonna speak on, what you're gonna
hmm,
say.
hmm.
Something are just gonna come out, and that's what it is. It's recorded. It's there live, almost for, I don't know, YouTube. If it will be forever for live, you can find it here even after ages after we've died, and
The internet never forgets.
the internet never forgets.
Okay.
So, welcome to our fifth edition of the Free Flowing Saturdays Live. Um, and I'm joined once again with my able co host, the MVP, Brian Ngudi Juma, joining us all the way from Athi River in you're actually in Machakos County, eh?
Yes, this Machakos County.
Machakos County in
Hmm.
Kenya. And I'm live from Kigali, Rwanda. So, Brian, let's kick it off. I think this week has been a very interesting week.
Yeah, it is.
I just saw something that popped on that picked my attention. I think this was on Wednesday. Let me share it on the screen. Where we share screen. And it was this news article around Pope Francis saying homosexuality is not a crime. And he was calling on most of his parishes and sort of Catholic bishops in some parts of the world that still support laws de- that criminalize or discriminate against the LGBTQ community. Um, he still holds on to the fact that it's a sin. This is what he said. Um, but he was calling on these bishops that are said to be in 67 countries or jurisdiction worldwide that criminalize consensual same sex activity, 11 of which are said they can impose death penalty according to this report from the Human Dignity Trust. So um, it seems like now he's sort of aligning himself with the UN agenda, which is said to be around to end laws that criminalize homosexuality outright and violate the rights to privacy and freedom from discrimination. I mean, this is even contentious if these rights are, in a sense, been violated in any way. Um, so, what's your take around this? I mean, this was one of the key news items that stood out for me in this past week, and I don't know what are some of the thoughts that are going through your mind um, after this declaration from the Pope.
Well, you normally say, uh, welcome to the Matrix.
Mhm,
This is the Matrix. One of the hallmarks of the Matrix is, as Andrew Tate once said,
mhm,
you need to pay a lot of money to go to a movie theater,
mhm,
but news is given to you free of charge. Free. You pay nothing. In fact,
mhm,
I think CNN news channel, that 24 hours stream, is practically free of charge because it's the Matrix. And one of
mhm,
the characteristics of the Matrix is unnatural behavior, because already the Matrix itself, it's unnatural.
mhm,
It is unnatural to make someone see things which uh, he's not supposed to see. You're not giving him the freedom to see what he wants to see. You are seeing him what you are only showing him what you want him to see. That is quite unnatural. So one of the hallmarks of being in the matrix, or one of the hallmarks of knowing that you're in the matrix, is seeing the unnatural order of things. You may be, to some extent, you are in the matrix in some ways, or you're in the vicinity of the matrix. But if you are cognizant of the fact that being gay is unnatural, that means at least you are cognizant of the fact that there's a matrix around you. Either you are inside or you are in the vicinity. So this is the matrix, and it's also one of the another hallmark of matrix is misdirection.
Mhm.
While they're pumping money into LGBTQ, yet they can pump money into the bulk manufacture of organic fertilizer, so that we stop being hampered by the effects of this inorganic material, inorganic fertilizer that is harming us.
Mhm.
They can say, let's pump money in organic fertilizer because this is what is causing a problem. We can say, let us pump money into reclamation of deserts because it is possible to reclaim a desert.
Mhm.
Let's put a project to reclaim, let's say this year we want to reclaim 50%, or let's say 10% of Sahara Desert. Case study Kenya. I'm made to understand there's a certain organization. If you prove that you are part of the LGBTQ, they send you money. I think the guy mentioned 5 million shillings. First off, let me take the opportunity to notice, acknowledge the presence of the brother Sharif Mustafa from Ohio, I think, if my memory is okay. Sharif Mustafa, welcome. We are talking about the issue of the Pope claiming that it's not a sin to be gay, or the LGBTQ. And we are discussing that simply an indication of the fact that you are either inside or in the vicinity of the matrix. The moment you are able to tell that this thing is wrong, that means you are cognizant of the fact that either you're in the matrix or you're in the vicinity of the matrix. Because one of the hallmarks of that matrix is proliferation of unnatural events, unnatural stuff. That's what tells you that you're in the matrix. And as I said before, as we discussed before, they are ready to pump in money to push the LGBTQ agenda. Yet there are so many projects they can look into. You can look into bulk manufacture of organic fertilizer. You can look into the gradual reclamation of deserts so that we can plant natural crops. But all that has been circumvented, and they are pushing the LGBTQ agenda that is strongly in the matrix, because one aspect of the matrix does not want you to be empowered. When you are able to take care of your nutritional needs, that's one aspect of empowerment. When you are able to consume visual content that is not misleading, that is true, that is empowerment. So one aspect of the matrix, it doesn't want you to be empowered, it wants you to be separated from the truth. So this issue of LGBTQ is one very powerful indicator of the matrix. There's also technology that we invest in. There's something called cloud seeding. Seeding is a method of creating artificial rainfall. They can Part of that desert reclamation can also include cloud seeding, so that we have artificial rain whereby a plane flies in the air, then they discharge some crystals to sort of impregnate a cloud so that we have rain. These are very expensive projects that we can engage in, rather than blowing millions upon millions of dollars into pushing a completely unnatural agenda. Very soon we'll be hearing it is now okay to have sex with the cows. We are heading there. We are heading there very, very soon. You will find what we call, I don't know, I can come up with the word so called the animal affectionists. People who have affection for animals. Then soon we'll have a church that allows weddings between a man and a kangaroo or something of that matter. Because that's where we are going. So if you're ready to bang your fellow man, then what is preventing you from popping your dick in any available orifice like a camel, cow, or what not? So, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen, that is purely matrix, uh, matrix issue. That's a matrix. That's a matrix. What do I call it? Symptom. So that's my take on. You are in the matrix. That's what we should expect, and you will only notice it if you are cognizant. For there are people who say it's okay. Now those are fully in the matrix and they do not know that they are inside there. Those are matrix. I call them matrix dumb. That's my
Mm.
take on it.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, one of the first things that popped into my mind, I think, when I saw this is how we are slowly and slowly opening the door to
Yeah,
everything. As you said, when you talk of that aspect of bestiality where man is having sex with an animal, I mean, now it might seem completely outrageous, but looking at how things have evolved in the last few years, like I would say maybe what, 5 or so years, particularly around human sexuality and gender identity, sexual orientation. You have all these terms that people put up. You hear somebody say, I'm a spatiosexual. I don't know what are some of the new ones that are coming. I'm pansexual. I don't even know what they all mean. People are creating new terms, new identification. It's just getting crazier and crazier, and the crazier it gets, I mean, the weirdest thing is these things are just being promoted by the mainstream, be it institutions. I mean, if you were to count how many people probably have that deviancy of homosexuality, it's a tiny percentage of the population. But now, with the promotion that they are doing, they are already converting a number of people, because these things now, this indoctrination is going into schools, and we can see the impact. So it starts with this thing. I just highlighted a section of that article, and it says that in 2008, the Vatican declined to sign a UN declaration when they found that there was some language that was added into. So it's like the Vatican was in agreement, don't criminalize homosexuality, but part of what the UN was pushing was things around sexual orientation and gender identity. Isn't that what we are seeing now with
yeah,
with the push around transgender? I mean, if you talk of these alphabet guys, LGBTQ, before it was just LGBT, what was it? I think it was just LGBT. Now there's LGBTQ. I think they put plus, meaning they are going to. I mean, they might as well take the entire alphabet if that's what they are working on. Uh, and just see. I mean, the other day somebody was saying how they have taken so many things from us, the rainbow colors,
yeah,
because you could have those rainbow colors on a shirt, on a piece of cloth, on a shoes, uh, but immediately now those colors have a connotation that you're probably a member of that rainbow nation, or the alphabet guys. But you might just be appreciating the colors for what they are. But now that those colors have been appropriated to this community, they sort of shun off people that don't affiliate with it. So the point is, it starts with these small steps that the church, which ideally should be, and again, this is also the issue with Christianity. Christianity has just become, uh, you know, a religion of degradation, because it has decided, because God loves us, let's allow everything in the name of love. There are no boundaries. It's freedom and liberation, meaning that we are free to do and be and express ourselves with no bounds. I think there are bounds. Freedom should have with it responsibility. Freedom should have with it boundaries. Freedom should have with it certain limits, particularly when you talk of values. When you have your own values, that means you're saying yes to something and no to the other. So, this is the whole they're opening up a Pandora box, if I may put it as such, because they're completely polluting and introducing things that are in essence, um, how would I say, how would I put it? I would say these are some of the things that are, the society's, the social disorder we are seeing now. It's because of this. The church used to stand for something. Now the church doesn't stand for something. It is falling for everything because in the name of love, in the name of being inclusive, in the name of um, all these things. There is even another term here I was looking at, because you tend to see these things, they now begin to make sense when when you connect the dots. I think there was a place where he was talking of, who am I to judge, and people always fall on that because they will always talk of, it's my lived experience, it's my truth. There is a truth that does not respect anyone, and that truth stands on itself. You can't come with your own truth. You can't come with your own uh, idea of, don't judge me, that's my lived experience, because these are the terms they push when they are being either reprimanded uh, or somebody putting them in check. And that's the thing, this world that we are living in, where we can't, you know, condemn certain things. We can't stand for certain values and ethics in the name of let's love and be inclusive. So
You
yeah,
see,
that was some of my take on this. Yeah, go ahead.
of course, the love is there. The
Mm-hmm.
love is for the person,
Mm-hmm.
but some behaviors has to be fought off.
Mm-hmm.
Some behavior has to be fought off. It's not a, we are not fighting the person. We are fighting
Yes,
the behavior in that person. In fact, I've
correct.
put on your WhatsApp. This is Leviticus. In the Bible, Leviticus 18:22. Do not
Mm,
practice homosexuality, having sex with another man as with a woman. It is a detestable sin.
mm,
It's clear as day. It is clear as day. So when you take what something that is written in the Bible and you twist it with all forms of wordplay and
mm.
verbal gymnastics, the good thing is that some of us, we are cognizant of the matrix. We know very well this is just plain wrong. And as you can see, if a senior leader of a religious organization can actually go ahead and say this thing and offer what is this called the height of ambiguity, they say it is
Mm.
a sin, but it's not a crime.
Exactly,
Again, matrix, that is pure matrix behavior. One of the hallmarks of the matrix is things which are not clear.
exactly.
Because let's say
Mhm,
you live in the real world and
mm,
you wake up in the morning, you want to brush your teeth. The toothbrush is on your sink, correct?
mm,
But what if you find maybe the toothbrush is on the sink, but you cannot touch it?
mhm.
So it's like somebody telling you it is okay to use the toothbrush, but you should not clean your teeth. That's gibberish.
Mm.
And one of the hallmarks of being outside the matrix is clarity. The world runs on clarity. We have gotten to where we are because of clarity. Like, for example, the old Mombasa Nairobi railway line. People said this line is being built from Mombasa to Nairobi, not Mombasa to where it will reach. No, it's clear we are taking it to Nairobi. We are not taking it from Mombasa to we are going to see. When you ask somebody where are you building the, we'll see. We'll know when you get there. Where? So clarity is what has gotten us to where we are. And right now, due to the effect of the matrix, we are losing the clarity is being there's a haze. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors being thrown around. And one of the symptoms is such kind of statements that LGBTQ is a sin, but it's not a crime. What are you trying to say? Hmm?
Yeah, and you've hit it spot on. I mean, I think part of this matrix, as you say, one of the hallmarks of it is confusion,
Yeah.
where things are not clear. They,
Mm.
they do that deliberately.
Mm.
That misdirection,
Yeah.
that idea of making people question reality. Because I mean, let's look at even the transgenderism that is now
Mm.
being promoted. That I can wake up one morning. Actually, there was even a very interesting one of a CEO somewhere in Europe who is a man,
Mm.
but he woke up one day and declared himself a woman. I mean, if you listen to this guy speak, um, everything about him, all he did is, of course, probably put a new wig. He wears dresses. I mean, they can do all manner of body modification, but in and of itself, he is a man. It's like taking a cat and trying to make it a dog. Yes, you could probably put a disguise on it, try to put certain things on it, but a cat can never be a dog, and a dog can never be a cat. So these are the things. Part of it is, I think, one of the key hallmarks of this matrix, as you're calling it, is to make people live in sort of a make believe world. And now I get to understand this concept that people used to say that, are we truly living in a simulation
Yeah.
where now we are now being assigned a certain role, which is make believe.
Yeah.
It's like now we don't see the difference of what is screened on our TVs to the real life that we live day to
And
day. You know,
there's
we
a lot of
touch.
there's a lot
Yeah,
of ambiguous statements being thrown around.
ambiguity is confusion.
It's like telling you, uh, it's not a must you brush your teeth, but you can still have a beautiful smile.
Hmm.
Hmm. So such a statement is a very ambiguous statement. Very ambiguous. You don't have to brush your teeth, but you can still have a beauty. There's no problem with having a beautiful smile. So
Hmm.
in fact, there's nothing to question that it's just bullshit. The
Hmm.
same case of homosexuality is a sin, but it's not a crime.
Hmm.
Then you are that means you are being baited into an argument of what is the difference between a sin and a crime.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Then somebody will tell you that, oh, a sin is to do with spirituality, but a crime is to do with the laws of the land. But again, the Bible tells you, please respect the government of the land because I'm the one who has put it there.
Let me even show you another one. I think this was actually somebody posted it during one of the Kibe Twitter Spaces, and this just shows how this degeneracy it's going. I mean, just some of those things that you mentioned, that at some point we might have people who are marrying animals. It's and I bet if I if I was to scour the internet and going to do a research, particularly from the US, I bet I might find an example of this.
But
Because
there's a lady who married a tree.
yes, there's a lady who
Yeah.
married a tree.
Then
So
they got divorced.
I mean, listen to some of these white people, how they try to refer to their dogs. They call themselves, I'm now a dog mom, I'm now a far mom, or far. They even start referring to these dogs even after they have had their own human
Mm.
children. They will refer to these dogs as brothers and sisters to their own human children. I mean, this is just going into some crazy thing. Now, this one that I'm showing you is people legitimizing having sex with minors. They are now, even there's a term that they are calling them here, which they are saying minor attracted persons. So the limits of this thing, um, is it's just getting nuts. Somebody was saying we live in a clown world. Hey, and I'm just trying to imagine what 5 years, and these things are escalating very fast. if you talk of gender identity, they are saying it's a whole entire spectrum. There are over 100 uh, variations of gender identity that one can identify with. I mean, what does that mean? It's like, as you're saying, is that ambiguity? Is like, I can't say something is a cup. It's it
You call
might
it
be
a liquid. You call it a liquid holder.
a liquid holder. They even had those terms they were calling people who have children. Let's listen in a little bit to this. What this woman
Which
is
is
saying.
saying,
I think. Yeah. Let me see.
Folks, my name is Miranda. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and sex therapist in Erie, Pennsylvania. And today I want to talk about minor attracted persons. And I want to talk about minor attracted persons because they are probably the most vilified population of folks in our culture. And most folks are making incorrect assumptions about them without actually knowing much about them. And those assumptions create harm for an already marginalized population. You may have noticed that I'm using the term minor attracted persons, sometimes abbreviated to MAPS, instead of the more commonly used term pedophile. And I'm doing this because the term pedophile has moved from being a diagnostic label to being a judgmental, hurtful insult that we hurl at people in order to harm them or slander them.
Yeah, man. This is the world that we are living in, and I don't know how, particularly
next
for the
at
children
the
that are
at this
growing.
at this rate,
Yeah.
you'll hear something coming up called lovers of the dead. Now this will be there's something called necrophilia. People who have
Yeah.
sex with dead
Necrophilia.
bodies.
Yeah.
Next, we'll have lovers of the dead. LAD, the LAD community. Yes, I love my husband so much, but I'm willing to preserve his body and continue having sex with it. It's an open door. This
It's
is
an
an
open door.
open door. It's like you are driving your car without filters. No air filter, no oil filter, no fuel filter, everything through. What should prepare for is a very massive engine knock.
Yeah, and when you talk about that aspect of lack of clarity and this ambiguity and confusion they create, if you are to build a bridge, a building, a car without that precision, what does that mean? It's
Prepare
gonna
for
break
collapse.
down. Yeah,
Prepare for collapse.
yeah. I mean, I think this world is as I say, I think it's gonna have to crash and burn
Yeah.
for it to reset, because at this point we are just pushing the limits, and we've opened the door to anything and everything, no bounds, in the name of freedom, in the name of love, in the name of inclusivity. They normally try and disguise many of these things with some very nice terms, but what we are doing is we are not attacking the real issue. And again, this is part of this reality we have to sort of straddle in, where we move from make believe to the real world. And I think we are probably living a lot more in our minds in this make believe world, through our computers, through the screens that are all around us, that the small segments of real world that we get into, we almost can't handle the truth, the reality, the things are clear cut in the real world. It's a yes or no. It's things don't have that ambiguity. But if you're spending, let's say, in a period of 24 hours, you're probably spending 15 to 20 hours in this virtual world, spurred by the technology and the internet we live in. When you jump into the real world, that's why they get so offended so quickly. That's why they're so stuck up on language and terms, instead of what are we talking about? What's the real thing that we are talking about? We're in this confusion. It's a very crazy world that we are living in. I can't
Non,
even
we are
begin to imagine.
trying to practice non-practical issues.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I think we can end that there. I don't know if you had anything else to add
I
onto
think
that
we've,
side.
unless we have somebody from the comments, but so far from my end, I think we've brushed it pretty well from
We've
my end.
exhausted.
Mm.
Great, great, great. So I think let's move on to this other subject, and I think you're better placed to give sort of a preface to this topic on leadership and rulership, and then we can get into it.
Leadership and rulership, uh, I used to, there was, I can't recall exactly, but it was a trailer
Mm,
to a movie. There were two guys sitting in a forest, and then they saw animals running. It was a stampede. No, there's nothing wrong with a stampede if it is a stampede of one type of animal, like wildebeest, or a stampede of buffaloes. That is okay. But when you have animals of different types running, so the first guy asked, "Where are they running to?" This guy answered, "It doesn't matter where they are running to. What is chasing them?" So if you want to tell the difference between leadership and rulership, look at the reaction of the people. Let's say a leader gives an order. The reaction will be, "I need to do this. These are orders from above." That is rulership, or management. Yeah,
mm,
it's a
mhm,
manager or a ruler. Now, a leader gives an instruction.
mhm,
Chances are somebody will say, "Hey, listen, there's an instruction from so and so. I want to perform this thing so well because we have standards to maintain." So the difference is under the leadership, somebody says, "I want to do it." And the other end is, "I need to do it." That is why it is possible to be having a boss or a manager in a top position. Then within the company, we have a leader, we call them de facto leader, being maybe a janitor. Why? Because he tends to be very reasonable, he tends to be very sound minded in many issues, and somehow he tends to bring out his issue in a very clear manner without any ambiguities. So that will be looked as the de facto leader. When you have come from the boardroom, this is the guy you look for and congregate about him and discuss what has been talked somewhere else. He's the leader. Another example, which this is actually an actual example. I used to be a fan of WWE.
mhm,
Now, the boss was Vince McMahon.
mm,
Now, there's a gentleman called Mark Calloway. Mark Calloway is actually the Undertaker.
mm,
Now, it came to be known that The Undertaker was known as the de facto leader of the locker
mhm,
room. The locker
mm,
room where those wrestlers operate from, The Undertaker was the leader. Why? Because the way he used to, no, leave alone his in ring performance, but the way he
mm,
would handle issues among the rest of his performers, people would automatically congregate towards him. They'll be gravitating towards him over issues A, B, C, D. That is leadership. Leadership draws people to you. Leadership makes people want to perform so well so that you can give a tick of approval. Rulership or management, people perform to conform to what you've said.
mm,
Instructions from above. This is needed to be done A, B, C, D. These are the stipulations. And most of the time, people look at the minimum stipulation. What is the minimum stipulation? Now, let's achieve the minimum. The rest ni kuongezea, then we'll finish. But from my leader, the instruction comes, somebody will say, "Hey guys, I want to perform. I want to." Not "I have to." It is "I want to." So that's the difference between a ruler and a leader. A leader, actually, to some extent, appeals to your emotions. I once had a boss who, there was a time, I think it was between somewhere in 2012, no, 2011 going to 2018. I used to say, "I don't want to let this guy down." How many people say, I don't want to let down the boss? They just say, what are the minimums? Okay, once you achieve the minimums, you can add something on top. Even many times we hear, deadline is Friday. Well, let's get the deadline. It won't okay. But leadership, somebody will say, hey, I don't want to let this guy down. This guy believes in us. Let us not let him down. Now that is leadership. That's my take on it. An
Yeah.
example of a leader I'll talk of is Narendra Modi. This guy
Mm,
made young people believe in him.
mm,
The way he would do things, I don't think even any American president has gained such popularity with young people. These people say this until the day when you are a leader, or you are in charge of a country, and the young people actually say, "This is our man." That's when you know you're a leader. When you pass a very difficult rule or a motion, maybe the country is undergoing some form of turmoil, and you pass something which looks difficult, and people say, we understand, Mr. President, we are with you, let's ride this rough wave and we'll get through it. Now that is a leader. But as just a normal president, you probably need police to go around to enforce things and whip people into shape. You have not appealed to the logic of the logic of the people being ruled and the logic of the person on top. They're at loggerheads. But in leadership, your logic is one and the same. We are pushing in the same direction. So no need for enforcement or whatnot. If there's enforcement, is it within the people being led, telling each other, hey, chief, this thing needs to be done, but we don't want to let down this guy.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that comes out, um, particularly when you start talking about leadership, political leadership, even leadership in a company, part of our culture, and I would even say part of continuing with the theme of matrix, part of the the matrix is the creation of sort of a messiah. We see it in our religion that a messiah was sent to come save the world. So people end up looking up to this one person, sort of outsourcing their capabilities and everything that they could do to this one person. Because this one person, if we just trust and follow him, he will take us to the land of milk and honey. I mean, look even at the Kenya scenario. That's the story that has always surrounded Araila. That's the story that typically surrounds many of our political leaders, particularly when they are during the campaign season. That people want to attach themselves or associate themselves to leader A over the other one because they feel leader A is the one that will help me achieve my goals in life. And what happens?
See, you see,
It's another year of another time of frustration.
there's a difference between leadership
Mhm.
and creating idolatry.
Cult,
When you say
cult.
that so and so is going to take us through, that is idolatry. A leader will tell you, listen, from your position, if you do A, B, C, D, things are going to do. If you, Andrew, if you do this and this, chances are you may succeed. So leadership, to some extent, is like some sort of a consultant who will look at you and say, this will work for you. But idolater will say, I will save you. Come to me.
Yes, yes,
Look up to me. But a
yes.
leader will tell you, listen, from your position, if you do A, B, C, D, this will work for you. So if let's say I'm a leader, even if I'm in opposition, remember, an opposition leader has capacity.
Mhm.
So if I go somewhere in the village and I see some people, young people, they call them disfranchised or something, and I look at the situation and say, okay, number one, we have so many borders here. If I use my connections and bring in some sort of border assembly plant, there, you guys start assembling your own borders. That is leadership. I'm not saying come to me. I'm saying this is an investor. Work with him. mjiinue wenyewe, lift yourselves up. I'm not telling you come to me to save you. No, I'm just looking at your situation and say this works for you. I go to a certain area, there's joblessness. I say, what is being consumed every day? Toothpaste, good. A few phone calls, a few circles here and there, some money is provided. We have a toothpaste filling plant in your village. You are running it now. I'm not running it. I've simply brought in an investor, enlightened you on the logistics of running a toothpaste filling plant. And you keep running it, and I detach myself from that situation. That is your project. Run with it. Now that's leadership. I'm not telling you, come to me. I'm not telling you I'm going to save you. I'm simply looking at you and saying, from your position, my opinion is that this will work for you. Or you can also tell me what will work for you so that I can facilitate it and you run with it alone, not with me. I come here, I facilitate and I back off because I'm not dealing with kids. You're adults. It's only that you didn't have that opportunity. So I facilitate that motorcycle assembly unit. I facilitate that maybe goat milk cottage processing industry. We may have a lot of goats in an area, goat milk processing plus goat meat processing unit. And this is now a private enterprise
Yeah.
using my. So it's about a leader will facilitate. But someone who's idol worship will create a situation whereby without he'll tell you that without me you are finished. And it gets into your head, without Brian Ngudi Juma, we are done. So that when the rumor says that Brian is dead, is pandemonium. So there's a difference between leadership and creating idolatry, whereby when you sleep, my name is in your head throughout. So I'm actually put you in a yoke. That's not leadership. That's creating idolatry. Leadership is empowering you to run on your own. That's my take on it.
No, I agree, and that's it, because I think this idea of some of these people that we've pedestalized and given them that title of our Messiah, is going to be the only guy who can save Kenya from this economic
What if he dies?
mismanagement or whatever.
What if he
Exactly.
dies?
So a leader should be out to empower, to
Empower and
facilitate.
not just empower and release. You do not
Yes,
empower, then you put them on a yoke of, oh, if it wasn't for
yes,
me,
yes,
you'd not be having this plant. If it wasn't
exactly.
for me, this processing industry. No, I've simply facilitated an investor to come into your area and set up an enterprise in partnership between, let's say you have a lot of goats. So this guy comes in, I bring in a circle, I can even provide what you call seed funding from your end. The investor does his thing. Then you have that goat milk unit, goat processing. Then the other logistic pop up, like the transportation of products. It is now an ecosystem running on its own. And I'm now detached from it. I'm not part of it anymore. Because my aim was to empower, it's like, those small birds. They fly a short distance. Then after a while, they have to leave the nest and fly on their own. The mother bird doesn't fly with them wherever they go. They grow their wings and they fly. So that is leadership. Empower people. That's why in some forums I've said, when people become empowered, the Kenyan political class will crash.
Mm,
The Kenyan political system relies on people idolizing leaders. That is
mm,
why on a weekday you'll have multitudes of people coming to see so and so talk because he's our Messiah, he's our Savior, he's the one to ensure that we will be in good condition. But if I've put for you like 4 or 5 cottage industries in your village,
mm,
where is the time for you to go to attend rallies when you are
mm.
doing 12-hour shifts?
So it's deliberate.
You may not be
Mhm,
attending my rallies, but I've
mhm.
empowered you. 5
Exactly.
years from now, the cottage industries will turn into full-fledged factories, and they'll be employing more and more people. As much as you are not in a position to attend my rallies, but as a leader, I've attained my goal, which is to empower you on a permanent basis, not these things that we hear during electioneering period, oh, football, nini, ya wakina mama, and some funny puny
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
No,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's when they try to
exactly,
fund a few of these community-based projects, but
exactly. Mm.
after about a year or so after that funding, it's dead again, and they're back to
Yeah,
ground
mm.
zero. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's. I feel the world has more of these people that are pushing idolatry or cult followership, and then you can see it. As you say, the reason why the citizenry, like in a place in Kenya, is so obsessed with their MPs is because they have created a system where they have either indoctrinated, blinded them, impoverished them, so that they can always look at them, at these so-called political leaders, as their savior. And this indoctrination and the brainwashing and being so impoverished um, seems to be it just blinds them because they can't sort of they have put themselves in a self-created prison
yeah,
because as much as and they have done it so deliberately. The leaders know how they have done it. They have created a system where you just impose a prison on yourself, and you're always at that level. You'll always look at them at that kind of a thing, and by that way, you don't see the power within you.
yes.
And
That's
a
why
good
leader.
leader,
That's why we will
uh
tell you. I've looked at you. If you do A, B, C, D, we'll be
yes,
tapping into your potential, not mine.
correct.
Your own potential. And then
And
after
actually,
that, you detach yourself.
exactly.
You detach yourself now that so that 5 years down the line, nobody will even know how this factory began. Unless you start prodding around how this thing began. Then someone who was around, oh, there's a certain guy who came and did this for then another 20 years pass, you are totally unassociated with that thing. Because you're a
Mm,
leader. You are not seeking, you are not a performer. You're not what you call a stage performer. A
yeah,
stage performer wants to be seen. A leader is not bothered with being seen. In fact,
yeah.
a
It's not
leader would
looking for
rarely
the.
want to be seen.
Yeah, they're
Mm,
not looking, and I guess that's part of it because of the
mm,
way the world is, where we've elevated these
mm.
so-called the messiahs
Or rock
who
star leaders.
who come in. Yes, they tend to
Mm,
be rock stars. We
mm,
see them as celebrities. That's why we end up even
mm,
uh, giving them all the lavish elements of life. They'll
mm.
put them on the nice car. And what has this guy done for the society? I mean, just even look at some of the people that have impacted your life. Is it that pop star musician who gets paid millions of dollars? Or is it that scientist who is working on a groundbreaking innovation that
Mm.
literally has impact to the entire world? Even if the impact might be constrained, I mean, you use probably whatever product, service, innovation that he or she created, you use it much more, and it is of value to you than that music that you get. I mean, the world is now upside down. We don't reward the real people that impact on our life, like those so-called celebrities that we've now branded. I mean, politicians actually fall into that category. I think there are even somebody who says I don't know if it's in a certain book where politicians are referred as the ugly celebrities. So there's this stardom, celebrity wood that has created this idolatry, cult following leaders that basically blind you from your own power, and ensure you only look up to them, and you don't see what is in you, the
I,
leader
rem-
in you.
I
Uh,
remember some time back, sometime during the reign of Tony Blair, UK
mm.
Prime Minister. One day he rode the train, the premier, the tube train.
Uh-huh.
So he was seated somewhere and no one was bothering with him. So there was a lady seated next to him who was listening to some music. At that time, I
Mhm.
think we were having a Walkman or something. So Tony Blair approaches him and tells her, "Hi, how are you doing?" And they looked at her. The lady looked at him and told him, "Hey, please stop bothering me. I know you're the prime minister, but listen, I'm in my space now. Just you do your
Yes,
own."
yes.
Yeah. So
We need
somebody
to get
like
to that level.
I don't know if he's still around, the former head of Holland.
Mm.
This is a guy who rides to work, bicycle.
Yeah, bicycle. Yeah, yeah.
And it was only by, I don't know, because there are people who will ride to work, but they'll ensure they have a press team following them. This
Mm.
guy was simply captured by some unassociated uh, media team that stumbled upon him riding him because some people didn't know he was riding. It was
Mm.
just came to the attention that the prime minister actually rides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would really want attention away from, because let's face it, attention will cloud your thinking.
Mm.
You imagine in the streets of Kigali, let's say you wake up on Monday morning, you're going to work, and you have a very huge group of people chanting your name, Andrew, Andrew. You'll get to office, you'll be like, uh,
I'm the
what's
man.
going
It gets to your head. It gets to
Yeah.
your head, no doubt.
Mm,
That can
yeah.
get easily. I mean, there are very
Mm,
few people that are grounded enough to understand. This is all.
mm,
It doesn't matter. But that stardom, that
mm,
being elevated and being seen as special,
mm,
can quickly get into your brain. So, and I've actually noticed as you are giving your example, the
mm,
good bosses are the ones that actually, if I look at the time that I've had a few of my bosses, I've grown more as an individual under
mm.
certain people, and for them, they looked out, and they even sometimes have an eye at seeing something in you that you also don't see in yourself, and it almost becomes their mission to try and awaken that leadership within you, that mastery within you. So those are the people you will tend to grow. But when you're under some people, as you say, giving particularly example of these managers, they just create fear. So what you're doing is every day you wake up just to cover your ass, because you don't know what is going to happen if some, and the whole organizations becomes highly political. You're just doing things just to be seen, and
Yes.
and get that sort of political mileage, that either you position yourself on acquiring a particular leadership position. It's a very um, it's a process that never builds you in any way. Great. I think we've tackled that quite exhaustively.
So we have 7 minutes. We have
So,
7 minutes for the crowning jewel of the show. What we've all been waiting for.
yeah, this is probably the comedy section of this show. At least this final topic or a subject we are handling, which is around our past puniness. And we are still working through some of those things. So we are
It's
not
it's
there
it's a
yet.
work in progress. It's not 100% flashed out. There's some of it which keeps sneaking back, and you find yourself, "Ay, what have I done, bwana? Hii si mimi." Lakini wewe tu. That
Ni
is just
wewe.
you.
And I guess that's the whole thing. I think before we begin, that's the whole thing about life, how
Mm,
resilient it can be.
mm,
I was just looking at another friend of mine the other day. I'm part of a Toastmasters club. I don't know if I told you about that. Toastmaster is
mm,
one of these communities that are built around how you can develop your public speaking and leadership skills. So I was looking at one of the other members there, and I saw how he has grown.
mm,
And I can say one thing for a fact: his
mm.
motto seems to be movement. He doesn't wallow on whether he did one of the projects perfectly. It is progress. Attempt it. Maybe if you feel you want to perfect a little bit better, you could do another second attempt. But it's not wallowing in perfection. It is continually moving forward. So yes, you stumble today, but get up, continue running.
I
Yes,
see
you'll be
Sharif
tired.
Mustafa is talking about sanitizing. We want to
Yeah,
sanitize with our past puniness, and I think
yes,
I'll go first. What I have so many puny.
stories. You should
There was
write a
a time,
book at this point.
there was a time I was in campus one. So um, I wanted to show my romanticism.
Mhm,
So there were these guys who took advantage of Valentine's and they started offering what you call a flower courier service. So you buy flowers, then you write to take these flowers to room so and so. So
mhm,
here I am, Mr. Romantic himself. I prepare, I buy some flowers, put a note there, boom. So it so happened that I got a call message from home. That time we were operating from bus, I have to travel.
mhm,
So on a bus, I'm gone. Now, one of my fellow punitics just called him while I was in the bus. Sema, hey, Brayo, hey, VP, poor man. You see that girl, because I was with him when I was doing the courier thing, writing the message. So I was like, you see that girl whom you sent flowers to? Hmm.
mhm.
We've seen her in a dinner dress with someone going somewhere. I was like, what? So what I did, I started calling the flower delivery guys. Hey, hello, habari, hapo ndio mahali ya maua. Sasa hiyo mahali uko unapeleka, badilisha peleka room fulani. So I'm telling them to divert the flower courier process, take it to another room. Then I
Mhm.
get the message bwana. Oi, hiyo maua imefika bwana. I was like, fuck.
Mhm.
So flowers delivered to the room. The chick has taken the flowers and she has gone out with someone else. And then I get another message. This is actually the shittiest stuff. I get a
Mhm.
message. Now I'm in the bus from
Mhm.
Eldoret. I get a message towards Nakuru that, hi, Brian, I got the flowers. They are so nice. And I'm thinking that was around 11. This chick is about to get strokes by someone else.
Yes.
And she's sending me a message
Mhm.
to praise me about my. I nearly told the driver, simamisha basi bwana. Hii ni
Mhm.
kunikosea heshima. So
Yes.
it was a
Yes.
very crazy experience. And we continued for more pureness for a very long time before we started changing slowly by slowly. I remember I used to work in Mombasa. Then I used to
Mhm.
have now a girlfriend, and
Mhm.
someone I call her my future wife. Then I'll
Yes.
be this. She lives. She goes to work in town.
Mhm.
So in the let's say I've worked during the night shift. The
Mhm.
company has provided me with a bus to take me just a few short distance from my house. But because
Mhm.
I'm Mr. Romantic, see the
Mhm.
bus used to pass near her stage. So I would
Mhm.
alight near her stage and wait
Mhm.
for her.
Mhm.
So she would come from her home, then we board a matatu with her that I'm taking her to work in town.
Mhm.
Then we get to town, then I go back home. And then
Mhm.
I got dumped by blocking.
She blocked you.
And next time I saw her, she was in a wedding dress. Pangusa
Yeah.
yeye. As we say, Pangusa, take your L. Take your L, bro. Hmm? Take your L.
Yeah. You know,
Unakaa yako
even
ni kali. The way you are reacting, it seems toa yako bwana, fungua. The way you're reacting, it seems fungua roho, fungua roho. Punic.
Nifunguero. Yeah, I mean, I've had those scenarios. I mean, one of the most recent one was I was dating some girl who was living in a different country, and of course, I would travel there, visit her. She also traveled to visit me. But and I've realized this. I was looking at many of my past relationship, and one I tend to, uh, I think it's either looking to impress the woman so much, uh, pedestalizing them. I think that has been one of my common themes. So one, you spend a lot on them. Uh, you know, I,
You call
man,
it
if I
being
look at,
woman
eh?
centric. Woman
I
centric.
was so woman centric. There was even another one, and she had a child.
We are
And even
dating a
as
single mother.
I was dating a single mother, man.
I've been there also. I've also
And there
dated a
were
single
even
mother.
there were in the midst of that relationship, which was that one was just we were just having so much sex. I think that one was just more of a sex-driven relationship. And at some point, and she used to impress me with her cooking. Because she'll come visit me carrying, some nice chicken and all this kind of stuff. Then I realized I don't think she was the one making all that food, because there was a time we were in the house
Hmm.
and we had said, let's make fish. And I
Mhm.
just saw how she made ugali, and
Mhm.
just a whole entire presentation in the kitchen. She was very, how do I say, very clumsy in a whole operation.
You started noticing this looks like a matrix.
Yes. And I remember a friend of mine who tell me, one way is to test these women is just see how they present themselves.
Hmm.
Are they the ones that, once you guys have had a meal, they'll still leave the plates on the table and don't even
Hmm.
go as far as, taking them to the sink and even cleaning them. I mean, I even had one time a friend of mine who is married.
Hmm.
He came to visit me with his wife. Do you know his
Hmm.
wife, after we had finished eating,
Hmm.
she went and cleaned my own dishes. And that's his wife. I mean, that shows
And
this
you-
is a well
and
mannered woman.
and your
But
girlfriend was just seated there.
okay, that the girlfriend wasn't there. It was just me,
Hmm.
my friend, and
Oh,
his
so that
wife.
event sort of opened your eyes.
Yes, because my friend also, another friend who was also married, told me just monitor how they place things, you know, and these things are an indication of, are they well trained? At least a woman, the kitchen aspect
Homemaking.
should be there. The
Homemaking.
homemaking elements should be
Hmm.
there. But this one was zero. But I remember there was even some time we were talking of getting married, but it was just the punitics of being dick driven. So
Did
one
I
I
tell
have,
you that I did I tell you that I once bought a birthday cake, but I was never invited for the party.
oh my goodness,
The cake was eaten.
the
Pangusa,
cake
eh?
was it.
See, I was duped into thinking that the birthday party is like it is tomorrow on Sunday. So I bought the cake and took it to the lady's house, even placed it in the fridge, told them this is how the cake should be placed. So I'll see you tomorrow. Then sometime in the evening, I see her on her Facebook page. People were posing, people were eating things. Then people were posing there was a certain photo, and there's a very familiar looking cake on the table.
Mm,
And that cake was the one being eaten later. So I tried calling, and it was actually a kid who picked the cake. Yeah. Hi, sir,
mm.
who picked the call? Hello, hi. And the place was noisy. I just knew that the party was going on. I took my L. I said, okay. So even if the cake costed me 1,800, it's okay. Asara ni
And
asara.
what also brought me to mind because of, and you've also seen this image. I think I was trying to pull up an image that has been doing rounds
Hmm.
on the Twitter sphere,
Hmm.
of a guy who was proposing to a lady. It had just happened just down here in downtown Kigali. It's actually not very far from where I
The
am
one, the
here.
lady who started a war. It was from a wedding or something.
No, no, not that one.
Hmm.
It's like they had come from a date,
Hmm.
and as they walked out of the building into
Hmm.
this sort of open space, there's a place which has been converted as a car-free zone, so the
Hmm.
road has been blocked off and all that kind. So there's just
Hmm.
sitting areas.
Hmm.
The man turns around and is down on his knees,
Hmm.
giving this lady a wedding ring, or I don't know if it's
Hmm.
an engagement ring,
Hmm.
proposing to her.
Will
But
you will you be will you be
the
my
lady
prison
left.
warden?
Yes, the lady left. I think there was a point the lady was trying to tell him to stand up.
Hmm.
I think the lady was she was getting embarrassed.
Embarrassed.
Um, she actually seemed to be at some one point trying to save face for the guy, but the guy was completely deluded or over the hills on this supposed love that he had, and from I think men, we are the ones that have eaten this love crap for long.
The
Women
Kool-Aid.
have the
We've
women
drunk the
have been
Kool-Aid.
so clear on this issue.
Hmm. Yeah,
Just
Sharif
become
Mustafa, I was Okotwad, a good one. A good one.
man. It's
Man.
crazy.
Hmm.
Eh, man.
Hmm.
So I look at those times, man. Number one is the amount of resources are wasted on these beaches.
Sensational. Sensational.
And then I think
Yesterday,
you
I took some time to look at my M-Pesa statements of 2018,
I saw,
20.
I
I,
saw you posted something on Twitter
I,
around that. Man, I don't
I,
even want to look at it, bruh.
Mungu saidia.
Eh?
I was looking, this one, and then I'm asking, what was this money for? Huh? I had to stop midway because if you continue that line, you'll end up committing suicide.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think it's just an aspect again of we just move on.
Hmm.
Count that as one of your puny days. Pick whatever you can out of it and just move on.
But
Now you understand
the good thing is that I normally say you better make some mistakes early because
mm,
in this there are people who are simping in their 50s.
mm.
Yeah, there are people in their 50s, 40s, mid 40s,
No,
simping
that's
like
true.
nobody's business. So
That's true.
I'm glad I went through that. It's just unfortunate there was no mentorship at that particular time because I remember, especially from the years 2002 to 2018, it was at the height of female worshipping,
And I don't know if our
especially
forefathers
especially
like
to
yeah,
especially 208, 209, if I may recall. That was the time when every Kenyan man wants to be romantic. You want to listen to the biggest R&B music and whatnot.
exactly. So one is around pedestalizing the women.
Mm,
And of course, you have a pop culture that is feeding you all this programming to do that. Dear Mama, women have been so elevated. I was actually sharing in a space that one of the reasons that women don't have any accountability is they're delusional. And it's because we've been feeding them this nonsense hero worship. I think sometimes we end up giving them number one, a lot of credit which they don't deserve, particularly if it's a man and a wife. Oh yeah, that's my wife, she's the one who's done that. We give them a lot of that credit, we excuse a lot of their mistakes. um they are in some point, they become delusional, and it gets into their head that this is how life should be. I think now is when things are catching up with them, that reality is now finally uh, coming out, and that's part of
Imagine,
it. There's
imagine if
there's there's, uh, there's that aspect of pedestalizing, of course, fed by um, the media and all
The
the life
media.
that we give
uh,
him, all these things. So yeah,
you can imagine if at that state we somehow managed to get married. I think I would have been the most miserable husband ever. I would be coming to the Andrew Kibe morning spaces to be whipped into shape every morning. I think I would be something like an Alichiapo of some sort, something of the sort. Yeah, I actually
exactly.
cringe. I would imagine, what if I got married? I could have been.
With that level of immaturity, man.
Well,
And then you see, that's the other thing, because we've placed our own identity
hmm,
to or rather, we've made up an identity of ourselves by associating with our women, or the
yes,
woman that
I want to be the
we
best
say,
boyfriend. I want to be the
yes,
best
a boyfriend.
husband.
I
Hmm.
mean, there was even a time I remember that, like everyone, most of my friends would have pictures of their girlfriends on their, phones profiles. It's still there. It's still happening now. Or there's still, it will either be both of them, or their woman will be the ones that will
I
be,
used to have one also.
the screenshots.
I used
Yeah,
to have
man.
one. Yeah.
You know, we've created our own identity to be based off these relationships. So we end up living a life where we don't know who we are. And that's why you find, some of these cases we have had of people, taking their own life because of a breakup,
Yeah.
because of a lady who ate someone's fare. So I think men need to build themselves such that, one, they understand who they are, they take back their own identity. And the aspect of getting a woman is just, it's neither here or not there. So it's a question of I, I don't even call it complementary. It's
Mm.
just an addition that probably serves a particular purpose. If you're looking probably to have kids, start a family, but in and of yourself, you should be complete.
Yes.
And that's what we are lacking now, because we've attached our own identity on this relationship. We feel, and then the other messaging that we are told is, find your soulmate, find your, like, there's this one person that has been written a name. This is for
For you.
Mr. Brian Ingudi Juma. There's nothing like that. That's all bullshit.
Like they tell you, in the words of the great Sadhguru,
Mm,
somebody will say that me and this lady, we are one thing. She is me
exactly.
and I am her. My friend, that is schizophrenic. Mm.
Hey,
When you have another person inside you, inside your head, that is, I think they call it schizophrenia. You are crazy.
yeah,
You
you're
are a man.
crazy.
That means we may be talking to you. Kumbe, we are talking to your wife.
Or you say my other half. All these terms really are most of the destructive. And what I was actually about to say is, it's sad that our forefathers, maybe you could say your dad, your uncles, none of them educated us about this. I mean, I
They
wouldn't
could
blame them.
not.
Maybe
They
they
were
were
living
they
with.
were
They
also
were. Li- They
sucked into
were.
that same
They
matrix.
were living with their wives, our mothers, in the same house. What could they train us?
Yeah. It's so sad.
When
It's so sad.
it's like you are in a prison, then you are telling me how not to get into prison. You are there. Mm,
Yeah. So it's good this message is coming out, and
mm,
men, particularly those that are joining adulthood,
mm,
now can see the world for what it is,
mm.
and prepare accordingly. For a man, you come with zero value, you have to build that value. For a chick, if
Ah,
she has that pudesh, she's 18 with some nice tits and a nice diab,
she
there it
can even
is.
be. She can
Her
even be
value is
made
right there.
CEO. She can be
Oh
made CEO.
yes,
She can be made CEO of you, who is qualified, and there's nothing you can do about it.
yeah, man,
I
yeah, man.
remember in some factory, I think some multinational, some lady in her early 20s, she was clocking a six-figure salary, and her job was simply to plaster, to stick what you call safety stickers on equipment with the trips. with the trips nearly every 3 months to South
I
Africa.
bet
And you guys of STEM, I don't know, science, technology, engineering, and maths, you are struggling with 60,000 per month and some puny salaries. It
you
is what
still
it
have
is.
you still have to rush to get a matatu to go back home, and she's driving some nice German machine right there.
Mm. Safety
all she,
consultant.
all she needs to do is sell her ass, and man, she'll have the money coming through, bro.
Mm.
We are not in the same league. We are never in the same league, and our identity is our own identity. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the most important thing.
Build your own
Your
identity.
build your own
Build your own
identity.
identity.
Build your
Like
own, and
there are days,
don't waste your
there are,
resources on
there are
women.
days I listen to my thoughts and I'm actually impressed. I say, hey, tell me, Brian, you've thought of this. It's beautiful.
Yes.
This is you could never think of these things years ago. It's
Mm.
beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Like there's a statement I came up with and I actually loved it. I used to say that if unless you are part of a system or privy to its operations,
Mm.
out of its method to madness, you'll only see the madness. It sounds wise, sounds nice.
Mm.
I came up with that.
That's good, man. I think with the focus,
Mm.
you'll be
Your
amazed
mind
what you can
opens up.
create.
Your mind really opens up. And
Yeah.
one thing I normally tell people, because I tend to be a bit skeptical when you get to a point where guys start talking, oh, this bitch is useless, this bitch. But that is hatred, my friend.
Mm.
You are carrying hatred. It's not about
Yeah.
hating, it's simply removing ladies from the priority list or putting them very low on the bottom of priorities. But the moment you start hatred, oh, this bitch, useless. No, that is now hatred, my friend.
Yeah.
You are
I
expending energy on hating
yeah.
someone. Again, you are back in the matrix.
You're back.
Yeah.
You're back in the matrix. And
Mm,
like this example of this lady that rejected the proposal, the thing that just
mm,
happened here in Kigali.
mm.
I saw some people really castigate the woman. The woman at some point just walked away. And I was saying the stupidity is actually on the man. The
But
stupidity is on
why
the
should
man.
you castigate the lady? Did she break any law?
No, she did not. She
And
did
that's
not.
why I normally say I use the abbreviations NLB. No law
Mm.
broken.
No law broken. Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, there's no excuse
What,
for
what,
foolishness. There's no
why do you
excuse for
place
foolishness.
why as a man, why do you intentionally place yourself in a situation whereby your dignity is at risk?
Exactly. You put yourself out in public. You want it to seem as the most romantic, sexiest thing ever. Man, it just
What
blows
if
on you.
there's somebody you are talking to and he happens to be around there and he's a business prospect and he looks at you doing that? He look at you say, eh,
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
can't work with this guy.
If this guy is an employee
Hmm,
somewhere, his boss will start looking, thinking twice about him.
hmm,
How is his thinking? How is he approaching things? It
hmm,
seems so, emotional in
hmm.
his way of looking at things. But probably I'll excuse it in the sense that it has happened to the best of us at some point. But foolishness still is not an excuse. This
Yeah.
guy really, he shouldn't have done any of that. I mean, what was it for? What is this that he felt he needed to? And if this chick was already his girlfriend, uh, what was she going to offer him beyond what he's been enjoying all through? I mean,
You
what
see,
else?
now that the logical part of me is more pronounced than the
The
flesh,
emotional
I
one, yeah,
normally
and the
say
last.
the presence of a lady in your life, number one, uh, at the very least, there'll be tripling of your financial expenses, and then there'll be loss of over 50% of your personal space. That's what
Mm,
happens when you have someone next to you. And one of the most important aspects of a man is the personal space, the space to think, the space that can make you think of your organization, the resource planning. You never know on one Sunday afternoon is when that bright spark will pop up in you. See, man, this is what I should have been thinking of. But if on Sunday afternoon you're on a picnic or you are somewhere cuddling with the woman, when are those ideas going to
No, they won't.
come into your head?
You
They
won't
will
have
never.
space for that.
Hmm. You'll be thinking
Yeah.
of, oh, tomorrow I have to buy a dress. I was there. I was there. Hmm. I was thinking how to be the best boyfriend. It is
Ah,
actually it will actually clutter. You know the way you have to unclutter your hard disk. Your hard disk is so cluttered, you can't think of anything.
no, you
Most of
can't.
the ideas in my I have a folder that contains most of my ideas. That folder became more prominent when I started walking away from this stuff.
Mm.
Hmm. The noise, as Andrew Kibe says, the noise in your head.
The
All
noise
that
in our
romantic,
heads.
the romantic behaviors and all that is simply noise.
Mm.
If imagine if these two guys, Orville and Wilbur Wright, the guys who manufactured the first aeroplane, if they were the romantics, would they have flown that aeroplane?
No.
The people who built the Mombasa Nairobi old line, where they are building and the time on the at the same time being eaten by lions every single day, they have
Mm.
built that line. The
No.
guys working in major factories like the Tesla and the other places where, leave alone, these are just recent things. Look at things that came that were developed long ago that we have been using today. Things like the telephones, Alexander Graham Bell, the mobile phones, the computers. Nothing, those things would not have been developed had it not for people being straight thinking and not engaging in puny behaviors of the flesh.
Mm.
As I said before, each time the flesh overcomes the logic, something bad happens. So it's about just focusing on yourself. Avoid the noise. And noise tends to sound sweet. Noise has a very sweet sounding voice. Noise is seductive. Noise fires up your dopamine.
Hmm.
And by the time you realize it's too late. But again, the good thing is that for man, it's never too late. We started
Yeah.
realizing, started realizing our capacities when we were 37, 36, 38. We started, the hairs started clearing up. So now
Mm.
it will be for guys who are in their 20s right now, they have no excuse.
Mm.
They have no excuse because I think in 2008, 2009, seeing a YouTube video. In fact, YouTube was not so mega. It was, I think, YouTube and MySpace. And we didn't have so many projects being displayed there. But
Mm.
right now, go to the internet, go into YouTube, look for any project, you'll get it. YouTube has turned into some sort of a university.
It
You
is.
can
It
quite
is.
literally learn anything from there. So the guys, as much as I'm not excusing myself, but the guys who are in their 20s currently, they really have no reason. So whenever I see somebody in 21 saying he has a girlfriend, I normally say, hey, okay, you have a smartphone? Yes. The smartphone has internet? Yes. You have bundles? Yes. You have access to YouTube? Yes. I rest my case.
Great. I think
Mhm.
that's a good way to end it.
Yes. Thank you
Uh,
very much.
Probably maybe to end it also, I wanted to share this, man. Looking at this image of Giga Nevada,
Yeah, the
with
Tesla factory.
the Tesla.
What is
Look
the
at that,
what is the size of that factory? The
man.
acreage?
I don't know the dimensions of it. I'll look it up. But just look at that. This is not sci-fi.
No,
This is
that is real.
somewhere you. This is real. You can go touch this. I was
Mm.
actually asking George if
Mm.
these guys offer tours.
Tours. Mm.
I mean, I'll be keen on probably my next trip to the US to see if I could visit one of these
Mm.
places. I mean, man,
And this is only Tesla.
this is Tesla, bro.
This is just Tesla. You haven't touched on Mercedes, who have a 1.4-kilometer long production line for
I
trucks
think
only.
this must be probably as big. But
Yeah.
even look at the design of it.
Futuristic.
It's just so futuristic, man. Look like
This
something
is
out
a
of a
place
sci-fi.
This is a place whereby if they tell you we are not working this weekend, you get pissed off. No, why?
Exactly.
Why are we not working?
You'll be the
No
one.
way.
You'll be the one. Is almost sleeping here. Eh?
Yeah.
And it was good. I actually watched the video of Elon Musk just giving a report of how far they have gone. It was great to see even how government becomes of a facilitator. The government, the government of this state was saying how they have introduced a new bus line or bus service to now facilitate travel of their employees, because it's in sort of in the middle of the desert. I hear there
Yeah.
are wild horses all around, so
Mm.
it has provided a bus service, and that's one of the things that it's doing. But of course, it is giving. I'm sure Tesla is getting quite a bit of tax rebates and a host of other benefits to allow this or to enable this um, this to facilitate job creation and a host of other benefits to the state and the city that they are in. So I mean, this picture, man, I wouldn't mind even putting it as my screensaver or my
Very
wallpaper on
inspiring.
the computer. It's very inspiring, very
In the
inspiring.
meantime, Volvo are building a battery manufacturing plant
Mm.
that will employ a minimum of 4,000 people.
Where is that?
Volvo in Sweden.
In Sweden, eh? Okay.
Mm.
Is Volvo still part of Ford?
No,
I
no,
think
no.
it
Those are
was.
different.
No, no,
Ford is American, Volvo is European.
I know it's American and the other one is European, but
Mm.
I think it's kind of like like now Volkswagen in Germany. Now it has bought almost all the major brands.
Yes, they've bought they've actually
Like
bought
some of the
Scania.
yeah, all the
Mm.
Italian sports brand are
Mm.
now under Volkswagen. So
Yeah.
it's one of those. I'm not sure if it's still under Ford or it's still
Mm.
running independently. But I think let's wrap it up. Thanks once again. I think that was a great discussion that we had
Big up
today.
to our attendees. We have Sharif
Oh
Mustafa
yes.
and
Mm.
Ian Samoei. Thank you very much for joining. That has been episode number 5 of the Free Flow Saturday. Mr. Andrew Mutua, let's
Yes.
reconnect next Saturday.
Signing off. See you next time.